Yes.
Is there any evidence from anywhere in America or the world that there has been an aquifer contamination from this fracking region at depth?
There is. There was just one that was documented.
Over 1,000 in the country. I can give you names of people whose wells have been ruined.
That has been conclusively tied to...
First of all, you have to define conclusive, which is impossible.
And that's what.
But there was
Not
one
from the
recent-
bore itself, but from the region that's been fracked at depth. There's been a penetration in and above, in a higher aquifer from that region.
Yeah.
There was one
one
about
in
3 months
Wyoming.
ago. Wyoming.
A
Yeah.
bunch
In
of
Pavilion, Wyoming. That's a little bit different geology and it's a little bit different situation. But there have been wells.
At a comparable depth to where they're planning to operate here?
There have been wells in Elbert County. I'll give you the names of people. You can get in touch with them if you want to.
That's a tough question because what's conclusive? For years, right, the cigarette companies told us that cigarettes didn't cause cancer because no one could prove
Also,
conclusively
we're talking
that
about
they
a very
did.
expensive protocol here,
It's
and we're
hard.
just wondering what the evidence is to justify it.
But the whole point of this is that it will test it either way. It will prove it either way. So if the industry really is really confident that this practice, and I'm not saying it is or it isn't, but that this practice is not causing contamination, this water well testing is what will prove it. And everything that's out there that you read says this is the most important thing we need to do to put this controversy to bed. Because we don't really know. We don't know.
We've got Dave Bowers is very qualified in water and well testing, and he's offered to set up a voluntary team that would help with that and actually do the testing. You know, the well companies would have to pay some for the testing results to get the results, but this is something that COGCC has been pushing for, and they do have standards for well testing. And Brooks, like I said, the industry wants to do this now. They may say we want to do it a quarter mile from our wellhead only, but we're trying to be a bit more proactive here.
No, I understand that most of these spills happen in the region of the downhole bore, but once you start going horizontally for a mile at 10,000 feet, it's that region that you're also testing here, and I wonder if there's any evidence to lead to a need to test those regions.
Yeah, I think at the end of the bore, what we're talking about is on the surface, the water wells would be tested where that bore ends. We're not talking about going down thousands of feet and testing the water there. So I want to make sure we're clear on that.
Well, you've got a testing protocol that runs the entire horizontal distance of the frac.
Right.
Typically where the accidents
He
are.
understands.
Okay, all right.
The controversy, Brooks, is whether or not that gas is migrating at the end of the wellbore all the way back to the surface where the...
And that was my question. Is there any evidence that has ever occurred?
Yes.
It depends on who you ask.
So we don't really...
It depends on who you ask. And that was my point, is the only way we're ever going to put this controversy to bed is to test the water and find out if it's effective. If it's not effective, then that answers the question. But there's certainly plenty of people out there, 13 states at last count, I believe, claiming to have contaminated wells from fracking. So is their word less reliable than the oil and gas companies? I don't know. I mean, it depends on who you ask.
You look at the circumstances and find a comparable case study with these depths and these types of...
There is no comparable case study. That's the problem. There's no data.
I think if there's one thing in this county that everybody can agree on, whether they live up in the farthest northwest corner or they live down in the Yellowstone border, is
Don't touch our water.
that's what we have. That's all we really have is our water. And although I read studies out here, it was the second cleanest in the country. I don't know what data you hear, but the second cleanest in the country. The wind blows 100 miles an hour, takes care of the pollution. But our water is what we have.
If what you're actually...
Better safe than sorry.
What you're actually proceeding on here is a conservative theory, a preventative theory. Is there some point at which you can structure it where you either prove or disprove the theory and then stop having this tremendous expense once you very likely disprove it?
Yeah,
Well, no, you've written it into law for everything hereafter, rather than approaching it as a study.
Oh no, I think if the data is conclusive, and but that's gonna take a long time. I mean, that's the problem.
Jim, you had some?
I think the point has some merit, but put it in perspective as to compare the cost of that testing against the revenue that's going to be generated out of the oil fields, and I think it's a fairly minuscule cost of doing business, and I think that's perhaps what we're saying, best practice, this is just a cost of doing business.
We're not picking up the cost, and if they're willing to do it, then so be it, then it's safe and sorry. You know, this is no
And
cost to us.
perhaps, to your point, there might be a point down the road where you could say, you know what, we've had nothing. But I think that we better be safe than sorry.
Elbert County cannot afford to take
wrong.
chances.
Yeah.
That's our only source of water.
can't afford to be
I
wrong
think it's
about
more
this.
important to err on the side of caution. And then if we find that there is no concern or issue, make adjustments later. But I don't think we can ramp up.
No.
You know, to say that
We've
you're
got to
willing,
start at the maximum protection.
to say you're willing to accept the risk because there's no uncontributed proof would be fine if the risk wasn't so great in this county particularly. And I don't, everything I've read, there's no other way to prove it, other than to collect it. There's not enough empirical data out there to make this
I, for
determination.
one, would like to know what the quality of the water is under there, since nobody's really tested anything in mass. And this way, not only is it prudent and puts the burden on them, for them it's a cost of doing business because they're testing water in all sorts of other places they do business. We're just asking for a little wider area to do that. That's something that could be hammered down. But I also would like to know what's in there now. I mean, after years and years and years of agriculture, maybe there's some areas that aren't quite as pristine as others.
When
Like
you
previous
buy
oil
it,
activity, right?
I'd like
When
to know
you buy
that.
a
This is
piece
a
of
no-cost
property.
option to us, which is a wealth of knowledge that we get
when
for
you
free.
buy a piece of property, if you buy it anywhere in the state of Colorado, it is required, if you get a mortgage on your house,
Take that water
that
to
your
try
well
quality
be
and put it in
tested.
a beaker and spin it, yep, there's no sediment
But
sets.
they don't test it for the chemicals that we're talking about here.
No, they don't.
They test it for a very small subset.
They
section of
test it
E.
for
coli.
whether it's habitable or used for
E.
uni. No, they test it for more than E. coli.
But it's nowhere near the expense that's associated with it.
No.
Well, the other thing is, you know, while you're feeling sorry for oil and
One more thing, please, is what this is doing, and I think this is where the pushback's going to come, is the cost associated with this program is going to push the oil industries away from the populated areas. It's the only way that they can reduce them. If this program holds, the only way to reduce their cost is to move it where their 1 mile lateral only intersects 2 or 3 houses versus the north. And I think that's where we might get some challenges to that. And
It's all good.
I mean, the greatest risk is at the downhole right there at the base. I mean, that's where the spills will happen, that's where all the liquids are being handled. Everything is near surface, all the way up to the surface at that point. Further out, it's an unknown. It's an unknown.
That's a good observation. I like